Hello and welcome back to Wingot Plays Nomifactory. Today, the goal is to make moon dust. And to make moon dust, we'll use the moon turf that we got from going to the moon last episode. However, that's going to require a macerator that can handle 400 EU per tick, which is going to require us going into the HV tier for our machines. Having access to the HV tier for maceration, and in fact just generally HV machines, means that we'll be able to start working on ore processing. So in here I've got a chunk of stuff that both the overworld mining laser, or whatever it was called, the one that we had to make and spend quite a bit of resources just to get the stupid device, which I absolutely hated having to waste the drill and such. There, the vertical digger has it mined up basically this whole ender chest worth of ores and diamonds and such. And then here I also mined up a number of veins that we found up on the moon as well, which had, along with the moon turf. I've then got here a couple of filters so that anything that is an ore gets to go into this chest, and anything blacklisted that isn't an ore gets to go into this chest, and that chest will basically just import into the system, and then this chest over here is for further processing. I do also have a bypass on the back here so that moon turf gets put into here as well, because moon turf needs to be macerated down. But all of that said, I'll set up the ore processing between episodes, but for now, let's head upstairs and we can set up to use a HV tier macerator, or a universal macerator as I've got here, to process this moon turf and get started on deuterium and progress towards actually getting our first microverse and our first foray into the microverse, as that mission claims. So there we go, we've got moon dust. That'll complete that quest. Perfect. And then here we would have the option of, we could just get a deuterium bucket. Well, in fact, we're going to need to get deuterium anyway. So a LV tier centrifuge actually could process this moon dust into deuterium. So for now, let's grab. Actually, it's only going to make 100 per run. So let's wait for 10 moon dust, which will allow us to get 1 bucket of deuterium. Let's put away that array there. The other thing I did between episodes was I crafted up a chunk, 14 there, refined processor arrays, 32 refined processors, so that hopefully that will last us for a little while. But in the meantime, one more moon dust. Then we can jump over to our centrifuge over there and turn this moon dust into deuterium. Perfect. There we go. And centrifuge is not currently being used. For anything else, I'm just going to check that I've not left something in any of these machines. No, good. Perfect. So that's making our deuterium liquid and no solid byproducts. So as soon as that's finished, we'll be able to get deuterium fluid and start using that. The moon dust here is also used to make this quantum flux that we're going to need to send off our missions. Tier 1 is just going to need a single quantum flux, so let's grab this moon dust. And then our centrifuge there, we'll grab that bucket of deuterium and we'll head back upstairs. So a diamond, in a crafting pattern, plus 4 moon dust makes a quantum flux. Perfect. The other recipe would require a lot extraterrestrial matter, which frankly isn't a problem. We've got plenty of that, and a pulsating crystal, which would be a diamond plus a pulsating ingot. So it would just use up pulsating ingots. Well, we've already got the diamond here. Alternatively, we can extract from the impossible realm data, but that's going to be we can get that from Enderman matters, or by crafting it using solidified experience. So we probably wouldn't have too much trouble getting that, but it is 1-to-1. For now, we're actually using our Enderman to rebuild our Ender Pearl stocks, but I think that's probably looking pretty nice. We're over 2,700 again. Oh, and all of that Ender Pearl that did get melted down, we've got 2,600 buckets in the system. Now, meanwhile, so let's put that diamond back in. We'll molecular assembler that crafting recipe, and so then we can tell it to make a quantum flux. Perfect. And it makes it pretty well instantly. If we pop back over here, we could grab our moon dust. Let's take a look. What do we need to do? So we've got deuterium. We've got our quantum flux. Now we're going to need to make a microverse projector. So, modular machine controller. Unlike GregTech, search microverse projector in JEI to see blueprints. Microverse projector. Okay, so that's not craft a wood, it's just the blueprint. Okay, so in order to make this, we are going to need a modular machine controller. Sorry. We are going to need a modular machine controller. We're going to need multiple of those over time. So how about we just teach the system how to make that? And what is this? Modularium. Modularium, I believe, is what we're going to need this deuterium for. The quest is going to require the modular machine controller, 16 machine casing. So let's... I don't see a machine casing here at all. Oh, because it's not called modular. There we go, machine casing, which can be made in a assembler with no chip. And then I'm just going to check whether modularium... Yes, okay, so modularium can go into any assembling machine. So let's put it there. Oh, we'll put it there, because this one gets used so much that we probably don't want to be waiting on that. Now the modularium machine controller is just a standard molecular assembler recipe. Perfect. Good. Now, so that's that and that crafted. Now we need machine vents. Machine casing, machine vent. Perfect. We need machine gearbox, reinforced machine casing, machine circuitry. I don't think any of those were actually required here unless they're used for some of these other crafting recipes. But let's take a look. We'll look to make the... Does it say it needs to be an HV energy hatch? So there we go. And we are going to need a huge item output, a small fluid input. So huge item output. Oh, right. I don't see the small energy. So small fluid input, which is going to need a tiny fluid input hatch, which just uses machine casing. Fine. Energy output hatch HV. I don't know that we've taught our system actually. Oh no, haven't taught our system to make that. So let's go there. Perfect. And then we needed a small fluid. Yep, and we needed a huge item output. We needed a small item input. Yep. So there, perfect. And then that's going to need a tiny item input and then a huge item output. Perfect. And then that's going to be item outputs all the way down, I'm sure. Normal, small, and then finally tiny. Cool. Now let's just take a quick look. What do we have? We've got 40 spare patterns, fine. I will use up 5 of those arrays to produce another 50 because we're going to need those soon enough. So ineffable glass, that I believe is a new thing that we haven't taught the system to make previously, which is made using thickened glass and a moonstone. Thickened glass is just smelting sandy glass, and sandy glass is just a molecular assembler recipe. Fine. Glass and sand. Ineffable glass was made in a crafting grid. Fine, that can go here. And then the moonstone. So the moonstone's got to be diamond and lunar reactive dust or an unstable ingot. Well, the diamond recipe will actually be able to make... Oh, we could make a stable unstable. Although it looks like this has to be the actual unstable. So I think this recipe is the one we're going to have to go with then. So let's do that, and we'll spend a diamond to make it, and then lunar reactive dust is just made in a resonator. Now if we go here, we've got a resonator around somewhere, which is now, oh, we've already taught it how to make lunar reactive dust, I forgot about that. And then this one was made in a smelter, I think, thickened glass. Thickened glass with 1 sandy glass. So thickened glass in a smelter, yes. So if we just put that in a furnace, if I can type. There we go. And then the rest of these get to fill out basically 2 molecular assemblers by themselves. Weird. I think I just must have misclicked there. Good, 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 and done. So now we're just going to be able to tell the system we don't have quantum compressor in there. So quantum compressor needs to go into the system, which it knows how to make elite catalysts, black steel plates, black steel ingots, fine. Black iron frame is new, but that looks nice and easy to make as well. So perfect, then we can just finish that off, and we can tell our system here, we want 1 quantum compressor. Go, good. We want 16 machine casings. Oops. Awesome. Oh yes, Modularium. Modularium is the last thing we're actually going to need to tell the system to make, which is a blast furnace with deuterium, energetic blend, and steel dust, or steel ingots. Steel ingots is probably the easier recipe, otherwise they're exactly the same. So the system knows how to make energetic blend, and it knows how to make steel ingots. So this, yes, I actually already did that. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to set up a blast furnace with the deuterium. But for now, if it's going to take 50, I've also moved our blast furnace over to the HV system. So if it takes 50 deuterium, this is going to need a fluid hatch. Fluid bus hatch. Input fluid? What was it called? Fluid input. Fluid input hatch, MV. Fine, that should do the job. If we just put that here. Good, and then we can put the deuterium in there. Good. And so that will be able to make 20 modularium, which I suspect will not be enough for what we need to make, but let's start with that. So we need steel ingots, should have a whole lot of that, perfect. Energetic blend, we can, oh, we've apparently got a chunk of that as well already. And then if we throw both of those in there, that'll process away, and that'll make our modularium. But that will take quite some time to make all 20 modularium, And let's look at this. So yeah, we're going to need like 3 per block, plus the small is going to need tiny, which is going to need, yeah, I'm going to need to make a whole lot of Modularium. So I will process up some more of this moon dust in order to get us more, no, not LV, MV, in order to get us, what am I doing? Yeah, actually I do want, yeah, I want a multiple of 10. Okay, yeah, so I'll produce a whole lot of Modularium, and I'll see you in just a moment. And welcome back. As you can see, I made quite a fair bit of Modularium. Hopefully this should be more than enough to get our first microverse running. But we're going to need casings. I think it was 16. 16 of those. Yep, we need 16 casings. Tell that to craft. Done. Right, that's a processing recipe, so that'll take a little bit of time. We'll grab out that quantum compressor because we needed that. And then if we pop here, that will craft away. Small item input. Now, the thing is, I don't want to use up these machine casings before taking them out of the system, so I'm just going to hold off on actually effectively taking them out. So we'll hold off on doing these other steps. We can request a machine controller with no trouble. Except it doesn't know how to make a screen. Fair enough. So the screen, I've made a few of those. I should have probably made a crafting recipe for it previously, but that should be everything we need. There, done. It's still making the machine casings. It's crafting up the resonating redstone crystal. Good. So we've got the controller, and we will have the casings there. 16. Good. Now, if we look up modular machinery, yep. So what do we need? We need 1 of everything for, so huge item output, go. We need a machine vent, go. Doesn't know how to make a grate, okay. That's steel, electric, I think it knows how to make all of those, but we'll find out in just a sec. We need a machine vent. Steel frame is apparently a new recipe for it. Does it have to be this blue steel frame is the question. Because we do, no, that's a stainless steel. Okay, I don't think the system knows how to make a steel frame, but what we want to do is we want to try to find the colorless frame. I swear I've looped through all of them at this point and haven't seen a second recipe or another tab shop there, so let's try manually looking. Stainless steel frame, tungsten steel, here we go, steel frames. So steel frame, there you go, the regular steel frame is just in the assembler with a config 1 integrated circuit. Let's get rid of that circuit. Now I do need to try to remember what else uses the config 1. Config 1 is made to use steel cells and doors, and was that bars? Iron bars. I think we've got an assembler with iron bars. Invar frame, invar rods. Uses config 1. Good. So this one here should be able to make our steel frame. So if we pop back in here, we can tell it to make a steel frame, and then we can take the grate back out and see if that will actually craft using this steel frame. Good, that's been made. Put that there. Good, so that'll make with just the generic steel frame. It doesn't need to be colored. Perfect. Now, where are we? Modular. What were we up to? We've made a huge item output. We were trying to make the machine vent. Good, now that can craft. We need an HV energy output. Output? HV energy input. That's the wrong thing. Yeah, we definitely don't need that. Cancel that. And there's no energy here, is there? Okay, yep. So, HV energy there. And if we go tiny item casing, that'll give us the same one there. Perfect. Now you are meant to be an HV energy input. That makes more sense. Perfect. And that still just uses an energy hatch. I don't know, does the system know how to make a energy input hatch then? Yes, good. We'll take out our machine vent. We can take out our HV energy input. Normal item input, that was used to make the huge. So small fluid input, I seem to remember being a step. Small item input was used to make the huge. Fluid. Okay, now what was that glass cord that we need? It was ineffable glass. We need 4 of those, and I've crafted up a chunk of moonstone in between, like while I was making all that modularium. And that should go fairly quickly. Yeah, cool, it's making the thickened glass. And then it will make the ineffable. Boom, perfect. So if we grab half of that, we're missing a small item input. Oh, okay, yeah, I got confused because I saw item and thought that that was an output. As soon as that's done, come on, boom, thank you. Good, so that should be everything we need to make the small microverse projector. Perfect. Now, what we want to do is microverse projector. There we go. Now, so it looks like to build this, how do we get it show layer by layer? There we go. So we need the machine controller. In fact, let's just pop downstairs first. Here we go, HV machine. So we'll put the modular controller here. And then if we check this out, in fact, let's put it there. It's going to need, on the bottom layer, huge item input on the right. So item input on the right, fluid input on the left. Item input on the right, fluid input on the left. Energy input at the back, item output at the back. Energy here, item there. And then I think the rest of the bottom layer is just machine casings. Yes, good. Now if we go up a layer, we've got the quantum compressor in the middle, ineffable glass, and machine casings. So if we grab our machine casings, we should be able to put them here, there, and then the glass goes here, and the quantum compressor gets to go here. Perfect. Also, I forgot you can move into an ineffable glass. And then at the top layer is, I'm going to assume, is a machine vent right in the middle there, and surround it with machine casing. Perfect. And that's been produced. We've got a small microverse projector, which requires apparently a blueprint, but this blueprint does not have a recipe. Modular. Machine blueprint. Small microverse projector. How are we supposed to create that blueprint then? Structure found, small microverse projector. The quest calls for an HV search in JEI. Left click the blueprint to see the multi-block and press U over the blueprint to see all recipes. Yeah, micro miners are single use. U over the blueprint. Oh, okay, yep, so that's just showing all the different things that it can do. I wonder if this is just going to work without even having a blueprint, but we can try and do our first foray into the tier 1 micromining. So to make that, we're going to need to teach the system how to make a number of steps. So let's make our steel-plated microminer. When equipped with a gemstone sensor, it'll get these. Can also be used to bring stellar creation data, but less efficiently tier 2. it will get you these various ores, including moon turf apparently. This is your first microminer ever. Yes, not the last. These things aren't reusable. Yep, I was aware that they're consumable. So we'll teach the system to make that. We're going to have to teach it. Oh, I thought the conductive iron required the other thrusters. Basic diesel generator, just an LV machine hole. I don't know how much of this LV stuff we've actually taught the system how to make. Motors, fine. Pistons, fine. Good. So it knows how to make those. It knows how to make refined circuits, of course. Steel gears, tin cables, LV machine hole. Yep, okay. So I think it knows enough. Let's look here. Field generator, ender pearl, circuits, and conductive iron wire. All of that's easy. The basic mining laser looks very easy. And then finally, the basic microminer guidance system. I don't know that we've taught it how to make sensors. Apparently we have. Perfect. So in that case, all of those can go into molecular assemblers, and then we should just be able to immediately craft a microminer. And we've got the quantum flux here, so those together should be enough to get us our first run. What do you need? Steel gears. Okay. I apparently have never had to make a steel gear. So let's just check on that. So it's an extruder. Yeah. So it's 4 steel. Good. We've got everything right there. Extruder. This one here makes our gears. Perfect. And then we can go back here and tell it to make our micro miner. Go. Perfect. Everything that's needed is in the system. I did notice something is using primitive processes and basic circuits. Okay, let's take a look what's made that mistake. So, basic circuit. No, it's an input. Basic circuit is being used for the primitive processes only. Fine. But what's being used? So the basic microminer guidance system looks like it's grabbed the wrong processor. Easy to fix. And if I had been paying attention before, I would have seen it before we ever even encoded the system. But it'll be fine. Now, we want molecular assembler. Perfect. And then that can go there. I don't know. I'm surprised that there's not somewhere that had space in it. Because wherever I took that out of, unless it happened to be in a molecular assembler all by itself. Maybe it did. Anyway, go back here. Let's look at our microminer and micro space miner. Okay. And then if we look here, it looks like it's crafting, but it might have gotten stuck because I took that card out. So I think it's made everything else that it needs. So if we go like that, there you go. It's made our steel-plated microminer. Perfect. And that is going to need a chest and a quantum flux to get us these various ores. We can't make the gemstone sensor yet, I don't think. Yeah, tungsten carbide, optical sensor, EV. Actually, we could probably make most of it, but I think we don't have access to tungsten at the moment. Let's claim that $1 there. Perfect. And we'll put those both away. We need a random chest. Perfect. And then we can put, we're also going to need power. HV power. Good. And then this power slot is right there. So let's try to connect this around. I don't have enough cabling. So what I could do instead is just run it through the middle here, which should give me enough to connect to there. Good. Now that should be getting power. Let's just clear that up. Yep, it's full of power. And so if we put in the, where's our item input? Put in that, put in a quantum flux, put in a chest. And will it run? Will it run? What's this? This is a fluid input hatch. What sort of fluid does it need? It needs rocket fuel. Okay, well, that's easy enough. We've got rocket fuel. Fluid interface. Oops. And we need some fluid conduits. Let's grab some pressurized and some ME conduits. There we go. So that'll allow us to run this ME cable. It's going to look ugly for now, but it'll do the job just for us to test this out. Good, and then we'll replace that because we actually want that to be the fluid interface, which can be set to rocket fuel, which this one here, the GregTech one, yeah, that's what I've got in the system. I'm just going to quickly have a glance at what our rocket fuel looks like. Okay, we've got 100 buckets. I definitely need to improve our rocket fuel creation rate, but I clicked the wrong button. I could have just grabbed my Yetta and Chown and fixed it, but frankly it seems quicker to just do that. You don't need to extract, you're filling up. With rocket fuel, it's got more than 6 buckets. It's going to actually take, oh, and I just saw that drop down, in which case this is running, and so it looks like we don't actually need the blueprint for this to be able to run. Perfect. Now, meanwhile, let's grab another microminer. Perfect, because we've got an extra quantum flux here, so we should be able to, that's getting pretty close to finished. As soon as it finishes, boom, missing an input item, it's got the rocket fuel in there, and if we take a look, we've got iron, castrate, which is copper, no, tin, but it can also be processed down. The iron will, apparently dense needs a chemical reactor with nitric acid to break it down, but you get 16 for each dense. And then if we take a look in here, we'll get some nickel dust out of that. The redstone, obviously, although that will also give us cinnabar, nickel just by itself, but it will also get us cobalt. The rutile, I think, allows us to start to go towards titanium. Let's look at this. What's the rutile do? Rutile makes carbon monoxide and titanium tetrachloride. So carbon dust and chlorine, we've already got those. Rutile, I think, is going to actually finally give us access to that titanium there. I do notice that says 480, which means it can run in HV. Okay, fine. Got plenty of rutile there. Uraninite we could use to just get more uraninite dust and pulsating dust, but we've already got an infinite source of that at the moment. So what else can it be used for? It can be used to get uranium-238, handy. And then this crushed can get us even more uranium-238 and some uranium-235. Good. Galena gets us lead. No, it gets us galena, which is, yeah, okay, which is lead and silver, it looks like. But it will also get us sulfur. Thermal centrifuge, sulfur, ore washer, pulverizer. Yeah, okay, so it gets us sulfur and the galena. Perfect. Moon turf, which can get us more of this quantum flux, and it can also get us more of that that liquid that we used to make the modularium. I completely blanked on what it was called. And dilithium ore. So this will allow us to get dilithium dust, and the dilithium dust will allow us to get dilithium crystals with deuterium. There you go, that's the name of the fluid. And those dilithium crystals will allow us to warp once we get a space station up and running. And it looks like some of the higher tier micro miners also use it, presumably for warp capabilities. And finally, salt ore, which until now we've been manually just purchasing that, but we will be able to get the salt ore out of our micro miners now, and that will be able to produce fair amounts of rock salt and salt for us. Perfect. And even a bit of borax. Now, I think it's very much that wrapping up time. So let's have a quick look here. We've completed our advanced rocketry and flying to the moon. We've mostly completed the Into the Microverse, with the exception of over this way, we've got the end. We can go to the end using an end cake. We'll be able to go to the outer islands. We can get the dragon egg, and that will get us access to dislocators, which I think would be very nice to be able to have something that we can just teleport back without needing a telipad. These ultimate components require these uranium-235 plates, which at the moment seem like they have to be made from blocks of uranium-235, and those come from the uranium-235 ingots, which come from tiny clumps of uranium-235, which you can get one tiny clump from each uranium-238 ingot. So it's incredible amounts of uranium that go into producing those uranium plates at the moment. And so I think I want to try to do a much better job of processing that, maybe getting like a nuclear craft reactor set up and using that to breed some of our intermediates instead of doing such an inefficient method. But that's something we'll have to do in the next episode. In fact, I think the end is probably what we'll do in the next episode, and then the one after that we'll probably come back and try to do this ultimate component. And then we'll be able to progress into the mid-game. Of course, we've already done this part, which is just the basically getting that blitz kill allowed us to get access to everything down to the craftable nether star. And it will give us access to mana dust, which mana dust will unlock primal mana and will unlock thermal foundations, thermal machines. And I think it looks like it is primal mana is not a requirement for titanium. So I think that's odd. Oh, here we go. Mana infused ingots is a requirement for titanium. So we're going to have to go down this path before we'll be able to get the titanium as well. But this all looks quite interesting, and we'll have to get to that. For now, though, in between episodes, I think I'll look to probably try to just set up the ore processing, as I mentioned, so that we can get this ore processed up as well, and process all that ore that we've already got there. And then we'll look to automate this microminer, and or at least have it so that all I have to do is put in the microminer ships, the microminers, the steel-plated microminers, and the quantum flux, and it will just do everything beyond that step. And eventually we'll get to the point where these are just always being created, always being fed into the system. But that will definitely have to wait for the next episode. Thank you for watching. Stay happy and healthy, and I hope to see you in the next one.